Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a brutal 8-year conflict that didn't just conquer a nation. It transformed a politician into a dictator and basically set the stage for the entire Roman Empire. So how does this all happen? It all starts with a question, really. How does a politician who's deep in debt end up being responsible for, according to the ancient sources, over 1 million deaths? And in the process, bring a 500-year-old republic crashing down? Well, that's the story of Caesar and Gaul. Okay, so our story kicks off in 59 BC. You've got this guy, Julius Caesar. He's a super ambitious politician, and he's just wrapped up his term as consul. That's the top job in Rome. Now, here's the thing. Caesar was a rock star politician, but he was also drowning in personal debt. We're talking massive, crippling debt. So he pulls some strings and gets himself a 5-year gig as the governor of Gaul. And his goal? It wasn't just about governing. No. He was looking at Gaul as his personal piggy bank, a place to wage a war, get famous, and most importantly, get rich. He didn't just want a war, he absolutely needed one. And you know what? He didn't have to wait very long for an excuse. In 58 BC, a confederation of Gallic tribes called the Helvetii decided to pack up and move. Caesar immediately spins this, painting their migration as a huge threat to Rome. This was his perfect pretext. As one historian put it, this was nothing less than an aggressive war of expansion led by a general who was seeking to advance his career. Pure and simple. So let's get into how Rome actually conquered Gaul. It's really a story of discipline versus division. Caesar's gamble paid off, and it paid off with stunning speed. But how? How did his army pull this off? Well, it really comes down to a clash of cultures, a totally different philosophy of war. On one hand, you've got the Gallic warriors. These guys were incredibly brave, fantastic individual fighters with great cavalry and these long slashing swords. But, and this is the huge but, they were divided. They fought as a collection of different tribes, all with their own loyalties. On the other side, you have the Roman army, a disciplined, professional force that fought as a single unified machine. They were masters of military engineering, and they fought in cohesive units. It wasn't about individual glory. It was about the efficiency of the whole. And the result of that mismatch? Well, it was devastatingly clear. In just 3 short years, Caesar's legions just steamrolled across the landscape. They defeat the Helvetii, they push back the Germanic Suebi, they subjugate the powerful Belgae tribes, almost getting wiped out by the Nervii, by the way. That was a close one. And they even build a navy to crush the Veneti on the coast. By 56 BC, pretty much all of modern-day France, Belgium, and Switzerland is under Roman thumb. But things were about to change. After years of this brutal Roman occupation, the Gauls started to realize something. If they didn't unite, they would be completely wiped out. That fear, that existential dread, finally became stronger than their tribal rivalries. A real, united Gallic resistance was about to be born. And that resistance found its leader in a man named Vercingetorix. He was a chieftain of the Arverni tribe, and he was charismatic, smart, and for the first time, he managed to do the impossible: unite the peoples of Gaul. He put together this grand coalition with one goal: kick the Romans out. And his strategy was brilliant. He knew he couldn't beat the legions in a straight-up fight. So, he decided to starve them, using a scorched earth policy, burning their own towns and farms to deny the Romans food and supplies. And it worked. At the Battle of Gergovia, the newly united Gauls handed Caesar a rare and, frankly, humiliating defeat. This was a huge deal. It completely shattered Caesar's aura of being invincible. Suddenly, tribes that were on the fence rushed to join the revolt. For the first time in the entire war, it looked like Caesar might actually lose this thing. So this all leads to the big one, the decisive final showdown. The entire war, the fate of Gaul, it all comes down to a single siege in 52 BC at a fortified hilltop town called Alesia. This was it. Now, Vercingetorix and his army are holed up in Alesia. And instead of trying to attack them directly, Caesar does something absolutely insane. He plays to his army's biggest strength, engineering. First, he builds an 11-mile-long wall around the entire town to trap Vercingetorix inside. This thing is packed with trenches, moats, deadly traps, the works. But he knows a massive Gallic relief army is on its way. So what does he do? He builds a second, even longer, 14-mile wall facing outward to block the reinforcements. Think about that. His army is now sandwiched between 2 enemy forces.
They are simultaneously besieging Alesia and being besieged themselves. It's one of the most audacious military moves in all of history.
And just look at these numbers. The odds are absolutely staggering. Caesar has maybe 60,000 men. Trapped inside Alesia are 80,000 Gauls. And coming to attack him from the outside is a relief army of over 180,000, maybe even more. His legions are outnumbered more than 4 to 1. It all came down to one question. Would those walls hold?
And they did. Against all odds, Roman discipline and Roman engineering won the day. The outer wall held back the relief army, which was eventually defeated and scattered. The inner wall kept Vercingetorix trapped. With no hope left, he surrendered. The Great Revolt was crushed. Vercingetorix himself was taken to Rome, held for 6 years, and then publicly executed. The war was over.
So, with Gaul finally conquered, let's ask the big question. Who was the real winner of this brutal war?
Sure, the Roman Republic got a massive new territory. Gaul was theirs, and the Rhine River became a secure border. But let's be real, the true winner by a mile was Julius Caesar. He became fabulously wealthy, finally wiping out all that debt. He gained a legendary, almost godlike reputation back home. And maybe most importantly, he now commanded a massive, battle-hardened, and fanatically loyal army. An army that would follow him anywhere, including across the Rubicon and into Rome itself. But here's the final brilliant twist in this whole story. How do we know all these details? Well, our primary source for the Gallic Wars is Caesar's own book, the Commentaries on the Gallic War. And this is why you'll hear historians call Caesar one of history's first and most successful spin doctors. You have to understand, his book wasn't written as a neutral historical account after the fact. He was writing it during the war and sending it back to Rome chapter by chapter. It was a masterful piece of political propaganda, designed to justify his pretty much illegal war and build up his heroic image for the people back home. Take those casualty numbers we mentioned at the start, over 1 million Gauls killed, with almost no Roman losses. Today, pretty much everyone agrees those are wild exaggerations. They're propaganda, not fact. They were meant to make his victories seem even more spectacular, to make him look like a general favored by the gods. So that leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? Who was Julius Caesar? Was he a brilliant general, a ruthless conqueror, or was he perhaps history's greatest spin doctor? Was his biggest victory not at Alesia but in crafting the legend that we're still talking about 2,000 years later?